Hello, hello, hello. All right. Well, this has been a morning. I completely didn't have my stuff ready. I'm ready now. It's the afternoon, and yeah, I think it's because I had a little short vacation. But anyway, hey, guess what's over there? It's art tutorial week in April. We are starting this on a Friday, a little bit different. So we're definitely going to see a difference in like what day of the week it is. I thought that maybe kicking it off on a Friday would be great because maybe you can gather supplies over the weekend and follow along with some of the tutorials. So we are starting on Friday, and today Today is mosaics. And yeah, there's a lot that you should get prepped before. I mean, I did have all the supplies set up here, but yeah. So I'm ready to go now. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying this video. We are tuning in live right now. And yeah, so there it is. I actually managed to get a thumbnail done before I started the video too. So, um, let's just get everything started. Why don't we, right? So, I'm going to go over the supplies that we need and what you need to get this. I have little pieces of glass up here. Supplies that you're going to need. Now, if you see me looking this way, that just means that I'm checking to make sure everything's in order. So, imagine that. All right. So let's pull up the supply list. So as you can see, it is day 113 or episode 113. And today is April 24th. So just to let you know um, what day that is. And it's Friday. And let's go to the supply list. If I can managed to do this here. And of course, it's a little off. Let me move it around a little bit. Yeah, so this is the supply list. I guess that's good. Basically, you're going to need a solid base, which is like this. This is what we're using. They're little wood trays. Um, make it very convenient. You're going to need some tiles. And I have everything on the desk here. I'll show you all this. Tiles. Um, Maybe I can bring up the screen. Maybe this is better. Maybe. I don't know. I didn't plan for this. Let me do this again. All right. So you're going to need a solid base here. You're going to need some tiles, which I've already laid out one of these here. But you can get tiles anywhere. These are just some of the ones that I use. These are glass tiles. Tiles can come in all different shapes and forms. So keep that in mind. Or you can just use some small little items, like little things that you find around your house if you want to do that. You can put anything in a mosaic. You can even take, say, a piece of china and from a thrift store and take and smash it with a hammer and use that in your mosaics as well. So you don't have to buy specific tiles. You can use pretty much anything that you can lay on a surface in different pieces. So basically, so you also need some type of adhesive. Whether it is a good product is Welbond. If you're doing indoor things, Welbond's tacky glue is really good. Just PVA glue in general. If you are making a mosaic to go outside, you will probably need to use like a thin set to lay your tiles. We actually have a mosaic table out in our backyard that was done, and we used thin set for that and regular grout, and then had to seal it. And so, of course, in between your tiles and such, you need grout. Now, I already have grout in little packages here, so I didn't bring a whole thing of grout out to put on the table. You'll need bowls. I do have two bowls here. One I'm going to use for cutting tile, and I'm going to show you how to cut tile with these tile nippers. Um, but I have two out. You're going to use one for basically your grout or whatever you're using. You can use sand or resin. If you use sand, this one's actually just done in sand, and so the grout is not up level with all the tiles. So that's a difference there. You can pour resin in them. Um, so it's completely up to you how you want to do it. The bowls, like I said, I have two here. I have a sponge here. This is used for when you're grouting to clean up the tiles. So we have a little sponge. Um, I do have paper towels off to the side here. Paper towels are here. We have water. I have a jug of water here that I am going to be using. Towel nippers, tweezers, because when you're picking up tiles and you have to replace them back and forth, you might want to use some tweezers for that. Gloves. I do have gloves now. I tend to not use the gloves when laying the tiles out, but when I do the grout and such, I would use tile or gloves. Eye protection, and I wear glasses, so I'm going to use those, but you can use regular eye protection goggles, whatever you want to call those. And then I have a spoon, and I have some small craft sticks here. This is to mix your grout. This should have picked a white spoon instead of a clear one. A spoon, and I have some little tiny craft sticks here that I'm going to apply the adhesive to the actual tiles. Now I do have a plate here because I will paint some of these. I'm not sure if I'm going to get everything painted. So in this case, this one here, this is done by my stepdaughter. She was not able to finish it, so I am going to finish it for her um, and take it to her the next time we go to Europe. So this will be in my carry-on. So in this case, what I'm going to do with hers is I'm going to paint the rest of the background, and she likes a little sparkle. So I'm going to give her paint with a layer of glitter, and then I'm actually going to resin this one. So this one's actually going to be resin. Now this is one of my embellishments that I use on tiny doors. This is the fancy flamingo. And we have fancy flamingo tiny doors. So I have an extra one, so I'm going to be using that one for her project. And this one here is not painted, as you can see. And we'll be using these tiles like this. So the one I will be putting together today, for the sake of time, I've already laid this out in one tray. And I have a separate tray here that I'm actually going to be gluing them in, just for the sake of putting them in to see. Now, what you can do is you can design your pieces and place them where you want them, take a photograph of that, and then use that later, or you can actually do a whole drawing and layout and place your tiles in on paper and then place them into your tray or your solid surface. A lot of people use tabletops to do these. You can actually do mosaics on top of a tile. I should turn my phone volume down because looks like it's getting a little chatty in our group chats. So So that's basically all the supplies that you need for this project. Now I am going to pull this down. I'm still here. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to go ahead and get into this, and I'm just going to bring out my magic fingers and click. There we are. So here we are. This is what it's going to look like when we're doing the project. I'm going to move the keyboard out of the way because, don't need that right now. So if you are tuning in live, I just want to say thank you so much. If you are catching this on the replay, thank you too. Um, so basically, we're going to start off with this set here. These are I do carry I have a lot of different tiles, and this is just some of them. Um, so I pulled these out already and pulled out the tiles that I am going to be using in this project, which are these. So I've already designed that out. So we have these. That's just over there. Our grouts here, our gloves are here. I'm just making space. And I don't think that I'm going to paint this outside edge currently, just for the fact that I want to save time. So if you want to paint your edges, you can do so. I think I'm going to do that after I'm finished. So here's the sample of what I just moved it all. What I'm going to be putting together. And you want to make sure you have a little space between all your tiles because that's where your grout's going to go. And the ideal situation is to have everything as high or at the same level as all the tiles. Now in this case, these pieces here, these smaller ones, I have 4 of those, and then I have I think 8 of these. They are not quite as high as the main color tiles that I'm using. Now, these tiles are super pretty. The glazing on them are really great. Tiles can be all different ways. These are actually glass, and these are ceramic. So there is a right side and a wrong side to put your tiles down. Obviously, you want the pretty side up, and they usually have some type of a texture on the back of the tile. So this is my design. And then we're going to transfer it into this. So I did notice, and I'm going to show you guys a couple little things. I'm going to put this with the grout. On these tiles, or this, you can move these things out of the way because we're not going to use these tiles. So we're just there for aesthetics. So I did notice that some of these tiles here have a little bit of glaze that went over the edge. Now the tile nippers that I'm using, these have super sharp blades on them. And if you place your tile nipper in between, you can cut that out, hopefully. These might be too far apart to cut. So I'm going to use a bowl here. You know what? Let's bring it in a little closer. Come on down here to the tabletop. A little closer in. There we go. Move these cables out of the way because that's always a problem. Um, so this nipper is actually not gonna get that all the way, but you can use that sharp edge. If you wanted to cut, say, a piece of tile like this, you can take and place it in between. If you wanted to measure and all of that, you place it in between here. Super sharp blades. I take it and put it upside down where the blades are down here. I place my hand over it and give it a good squeeze. And that will cut these little tiles like this. Okay, so that's a glass tile. Now I'll pull one here. This is a ceramic tile. These are super tiny, so obviously in mosaics, tiny little pieces are what you would use. Sometimes you're using big ones, big tiles. So here I'm going to say that I want this to be, I need a tiny piece. I'm going to place it between my tile nipper, put it in the bowls, cover my hand over it so it doesn't fly, and give it a squeeze. And then I will have two pieces. Okay, so that's how you can use the tile nippers. And in this case, these tiles are already kind of a shape, and I've already prepped some of those, but they do have this rough little edge that I'm not really liking. You could actually use a little sandpaper and take off that little edge. And this is just where the glaze on these tiles ran over. And I don't have to get all of it off. I just want that sharp edge off. So there's that one. And I'm going to place it back in the same place in here. Let's see if there's any more that need that done to them. I think this one right here has a little edge that I don't really like so much. Right here. So I'll just take a little sandpaper and try to sand this off. Like I said, the nippers are going to be a little too big, and I just didn't go out and get another set of nippers out of. If I can chip it off sideways, that might be good. Worked a little. So this one, and that's going here. And I think all the rest of them, let me just take a closer look closer to myself. I think everything else was good. Okay. So I have these. Put my design back in order here. So I can remember my design. And I tend to like symmetrical patterns. Now you can only get so symmetrical with sometimes with tiles because they may vary in size a little, but the pattern itself I I like to have in somewhat of a symmetrical style. And this is the pattern we're going to be going with. And let me turn this one this way. I love these. The glaze on these are so pretty. So if you're looking to source tiles, of course, your home improvement stores, there are tiles there. And some places have, trying to move my chair around here. Some places have tiles that are already like on webbing. Like these were on some web. I don't know if you can see that. And then you can actually just get those and cut them out, or you can just cut the piece the size that you want. I ended up cutting all the webbing off of these just because I do teach this as a class, and then that way everybody has individual pieces. Um, so you can find tiles pretty much anywhere. Home improvement stores, online. I do order mine online um, in different places. So, all right. You're first going to make sure that this is free of dust, and I've already done that before. And we're going to start laying these out in the blank tray, but we're going to do that with some glue. So this glue here, I'm just going to squeeze some on my plate. And I like to keep my glue upside down so it's ready to go. It's actually right here. I know this plate has paint on it, but it's an art studio. That's how it goes. So what I will do, you know what? I'm going to stand up. I just cannot see if I don't stand up. And I like to work standing up. This desk is actually set up for countertop height. So in this case, I'm going to work from left to right, top to bottom when I'm laying these out. Well, maybe not. I'm going to do corners first and then the middle and then work my way like that. We'll do it that direction. So I'm going to take this one here, and it doesn't take a whole lot of glue. You want to get your glue and basically just like buttering toast, you're going to put a nice even coat of glue on there, taking it to the edges and placing it down. Now, this might be so boring to you guys. So if you're watching this on the replay, just fast forward if you want, or you can change the speed of your YouTube video. Now, I don't want this to go completely to the edge. I want it to be just far enough away that I can get some grout in there. Now you're probably asking, what do you do with these? Well, you can use these as decorative items on a shelf, like get a little like photo stand and you can set them up as like a painting or a small photo. Or you can use these actually as a trivet for your hot food on your table. You can use them as a coaster. You can make coasters out of these. Probably maybe a big mug would fit on these. But you can use them for pretty much anything. And so I'm just applying the glue on all the pieces. And these pieces are big, so I'm not worried about using tweezers right now. And like I said, I tend not to use gloves when I'm doing the glue because it's just glue and I'll wipe my fingers off with paper towel. So each piece I'm going around placing them in. And you only have a little bit of wiggle room time for these. This glue tends to dry pretty quick. A tiny piece of paper towel. So they will set up relatively quick. Now, rule of thumb is that when you are doing tile with thin set, for your outdoor tiles, or if you're using a thin set, you do want that to dry completely. When we do them like that, we would let them sit overnight and then grout them later. Now, in this case, these will dry maybe by the time we get to the end of this video. Hopefully I don't have to do a part 2 of this video, but we'll see. So here's this one. And to make sure that I'm kind of in the center, I'm just going to eyeball it. You can actually, I'm going to move this one around. They're still movable, so if you need to switch them around, then do so. You can eyeball where the middle is. If you want to go and measure everything out, you can. But I tend to have a good eye on centering everything. Now, the bigger the piece, the more glue that you want on there. It's a bigger surface, obviously. So we're just going to glue that. And I take it all the way to the edge. I'm not too worried about the glue ooze in this case because we are going to be grouting this. Um, Now, grout, you can buy colored grout. Um, you can buy all different kinds of grout. This is sandless grout, so it's a very fine grout. Now, what direction do I want it? I think I want it. You want it this way. I'm just going to place it in the middle. Since this is the center, kind of eyeball where that is. Give it a good press. So, and then now each other little one we're going to do. And I'm just going to work my way around clockwise with these. Just going in, doing the same thing. So this is the tedious part of this project, but it's also quite relaxing to do mosaics. Now you can do mosaics also with paper and do paper piecing mosaics. I do that project. Usually I do that one when I'm teaching the kids and such at the schools. I'm teaching them with paper first to learn spacing and such. And then, like, currently, school's almost out. They're actually doing this kind of project in my class at the school right now with my Creative Wonders class. Um, so they are actually making their little mosaic pieces. Um, I took pictures of them last week. I should have popped in a picture here of that, but I just didn't have time to get that on here today. But they all have different ones, so it's quite fun. You just want to eyeball the location. So I am working corner to corner, middle, and then sides. And I'm just picking them up because I use this as a template. Pre-lay them out, like I said before, if you wanted to lay them out and you only have one tray to work on or solid base, I suggest lay them out separately, um, and then put them in, or place them in, take a picture, and then lay them to the side in the same order. That way, you will get your desired design. And I always pre-lay everything out so I know exactly the way I want it. And also, it's good to do that because of spacing. So you want to be able to space your pieces out and to kind of know what you need. So now we're going to do the last four of the ceramic tiles. Now, if I had some other ones that were like this, I would have used those instead of the glass tiles. I just don't have enough that match the look I'm going for this one. So I'm just lining this one up here to here. And I'm leaving space because these two pieces here will go here. So just kind of make sure they're in there and you have enough space. And these are already stuck. I mean, they're not going to fall out. So like I said, the product I'm using for these is the tacky glue. You can use Welbond is a very popular adhesive to do this as well. You can find Welbond in your local craft stores as well. I actually really like Welbond. When we install tiny doors, I use a combination of Welbond and E6000. You can use E6000 uh, in this project too. I just didn't want to use it today. So you're just going with something that you possibly have around your house, or in this case, we're using Mosaic, so you might have to run out and go get some tiles. Or maybe you're doing this with paper and laying them out. So this is pretty evenly spaced, I have to say. I'm pretty happy I can eyeball that and place it in. So, and this is something you can do, as far as a weekend project, in case you need to, if you're doing it outside with thin set or doing a bigger layout, you can do these small little ones very easily, and you can actually finish this in a day. That one's a little close. Can I wiggle that one up a little? Wiggle it. Just have to adjust it every once in a while. Now, all these little pieces here, these are actually glass tile. And this is not a sticker on the back here. This is actually the color. So now I'm going to go around and place those in. You can just leave it like this. You'll just have a larger grouted area. You could fill in the entire thing edge to edge and do that as well. Um, and I was in debate what to use, but I think this is going to be fine. All right, so we're just going to I am going to place a little bit more glue on here. I'm not going to take too much more glue. And just take your craft stick, little glue, tap it on there. And just like buttering toast. That's how I tell the kiddos how to do it at the school. And all of these are going to get placed in between. And you could do these on a diagonal. I'm just choosing to do them nice and square. And this is what it's like. It's pretty easy. Mosaics don't have to be hard. I mean, there are mosaics that are huge. I think my favorite mosaic, no, my favorite mosaic to look at and to really, it just tells a story, is none other than at Walt Disney World. Inside the castle, when you walk through, there is a beautiful mosaic there that depicts Cinderella's story. And it's probably my favorite mosaic to look at. Now, other than I like that one because they use all different types of tiles, or the artist that did that years and years ago. Um, there's so many different pieces of tile. There are glass tile, ceramic tile, dichroic tiles, or dichroic glass. Just an amazing array of different tiles in that piece. Now, this past weekend, We saw a little bit of an art installation in downtown Sanford, Florida, and um, it was done by an artist by the name of Mr. Imagination. It had his name on there, and it was basically, I'm not really sure the history of the whole concept of it, but it looked to be that it was a community effort as well, because there was all kinds of little things in the actual wall. It wasn't a very like symmetrical, structured kind of mosaic. It was it was just really nice to see because it had so many different little tiny things in the store. It was in a storefront. Sorry, I don't know the storefront's name, but it was all different like things like bottles. There were um sunglasses. It was all kinds of little upcycled items in this mosaic style piece of artwork that surrounded the entire front facade of it was an art gallery in downtown Sanford, Florida. So it was really nice. And basically in that one they just it looks like they just took concrete or cement, mortar, thin set, whatever it was, and they just put it on there. It wasn't like flat surface, it was very textured and such. So it was a little bit different than what we're doing here. So this is the last of the squares here. Just gonna place it down. And now we're getting to the point where these tiny little pieces I'm going to need to use the tweezers. Now this is a one of the classes that I offer in person. This piece, I don't know if I can, if I'm going to be able to do that. Let's try. I'm gonna hold it pretty tight. I'm just gonna tap the glue on here, and I'm gonna lay it in place. So you can also take the back of your tweezers and do that. I'm gonna do the top one. I'm just taking the glue here and tapping it on so you guys can see that. And I'm gonna lay it in place. Like this. Ooh, make sure I don't drop it. Place it in. Maybe I have to straighten it out a little bit. So when you get the smaller little areas, you really having a pair of tweezers is going to be your best friend. It's just hard to get them in there if you don't have tweezers. Hold it tight. the glue. Get a drink of water. Thirsty work. Place it in. I can still get my fingers in there, so I'm gonna go ahead and lay it in there. So now they are all glued in. It's really pretty, right? Are they still pliable and movable? Yes, a little bit. But these, the ones that we did first, they're in there. They're not going to fall out. Ta-da! Just like when you go to Dairy Queen and they turn the ice cream upside down or whatever. So this was our working tray. So there we have it. So everything is glued in. Sorry, excuse me. So now we can wait for this to dry. So in the meantime, I am actually going to work on this one. Put this one to the side. Excuse me. Wow. I haven't even pulled the grout out. So this one here, like I said earlier, this was my stepdaughter's that she started working on but didn't get finished. So, well, 1 second, everybody. Sometimes tickle. I picked up the and not paint it and just fill it in with these little glass beads. This would save me some time. Now to do this, you know what? We're going to do that. I think that it looks really pretty. And then when I mount this on there, it's just a little bit more bling, right? Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Yeah, that looks really, really nice. We're going to do that. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a different technique. We're not going to paint that. We are going to use these little glass beads. They're iridescent. She loves the color pink. They have a lot of pink in them. I don't know if the camera's actually picking up that or not. But what we'll do is we're going to take a little bowl and I'm going to just pour these out that I just poured in there. And I'm going to see really what one layer looks like. Yeah, I like this a lot better than painting it. So sometimes you can use sand. You can buy the different color decorative sand and place that in there. You can do that. But I think I really like this look. Okay. Now, you might be asking yourself, how do you glue that in? Well, there's a couple different ways. We could pour resin in here and lay it in, then cure it with a UV light with UV resin. That is the way I'm going to actually adhere the flamingo. Remove these tile cutters out of the way. And we will use resin on this piece, but to adhere this in here, I am going to actually use the glue that we've been using for a little while. These little tile pieces, I'm just going to put them over there. So what we're going to make a little bit of a glue wash. We're going to use the glue in a little bowl, and we're going to add some water to it. We don't need a lot. We just need to thin the glue out so it's runny. Just a little bit of water. And if you put your glue on the side of your bowl, it makes it a lot easier. You can also do this process. There's all different ways people do this with super glue and mix that in a spray bottle. I'm not going to mix in a spray bottle today. I probably have too much water in here, but that's okay. I don't want to get it super duper wet, but I just want to make a nice glue bath, basically. I'm going to add some more. Oop, I dropped my stick all the way in there. Add some more glue to that. Just grab it out of there. I'm just going to make a nice thin watered down glue. To apply this, you can apply this with an old paintbrush. I don't suggest getting a new paintbrush to do this. So I have some watered down glue, and I have a couple old paintbrushes that the kiddos used, old watercolor paintbrushes that I'm going to use for this. Basically, I'm going to take my watered down glue mixture and you're going to take this and paint it on. Now, do you have to water it down? Not necessarily, but in this case, this glue is pretty thick. So I'm just going to add it in here and push it in. all around the edges of the tiles. Make sure it's coating everything. We've been talking about tiling our stairs to our front courtyard of our front yard. So that is a debate right now. Um, we resurfaced the stairs, and we were like, maybe we should do a mosaic on the front of the steps, but I have to pressure clean usually at least twice, 2 or 3 times a year. Because we do live in South Florida and things get yucky. And I don't think that I want to pressure clean a mosaic that takes days to do. So I think we're not going to do it. So now that I have this coated in this watery glue, I'm going to put the glass pieces and sprinkle these in. Now this glue does dry clear. I'm just going to tap them in there. And this will need to set a little while so it adheres all the way. Now you can go back and spray this with liquid watered down glue if you want. Um, when I do stuff like this, I tend to try to not do that. Plus, we are going to use resin on this piece as well. But I just really want to make sure that the bottom layer of this is definitely adhered to the wood. Give it a little shake. Just want to place them in there. Make sure they go all the way around. And so those will set up. Now I've already dropped some on the edges. I am going to do the edges as well. So all the way around. So I'm going to do the same process with the watered down glue and just basically apply it in here. Don't worry, if you drop it on the tile, you can clean it up. And these, it's almost like little glass pebbles is what these are. You can get them at the craft stores. They also have a chunkier crushed glass. And then, let me show you. I also um, have these products here. This is different colored crushed glass. I might take some of this and place in there as well. When I do the resin, I'll use some of this stuff. I'm just going to put this watered down glue all in here. If you get some on the edge, go ahead and get it off of there. A little piece of paper towel here. Sorry. I have that piece of candy in my mouth that I just can't resist apparently to bite it. So if you just heard that, I'm sorry. Now this wood is raw wood, it's not sealed. So it's going to want to suck down this glue, just absorbing it. And put a good coat. Grab that off there. Now, if you wanted to take your glue and paint it on too, you could do that. But I think the watered down glue is a better option. And this is also the way you can do, if you're applying sand in between, you could do it this way too. Just watered down glue and then placing the sand around it. Okay. I'm just gonna go and shake the glass, these little glass pieces in. Do one little shake, trying to fill it up. If you overfill it, it's fine too, because anything that's loose will just remain on top. You can pour that out later. And they come in a big bag like this. Now, I've done this as well with glass and resin. Do that process too. Um, just going to spin it as I shake them in. Try to do that before that glue soaks too much into the wood. Okay. A couple little pieces go away. So I have them all in here. Just gonna shake it so those glass pieces get in all those little nooks and crannies there. And push it down with my finger. Now, if you want to drip some of the glue water in here after this has dried, you can. You want it to dry as much as possible before doing anything else to it. So if there's little loose pieces, that's fine. So this is what it looks like so far. And this is what it's going to look like with the flamingo placed on it. And this one obviously is not for a trivet. If you wanted to make this one like a trivet, you would leave this basically like this. But this is more of a decorative piece. So we're going to let that one dry. We're going to go back over here to the other one that we did. And these are, like, this middle one is so big. They're pretty much glued down. Now, I really don't want to grout it right now until it's completely dry. Maybe what I can do is later today, I'll pop on for part 2 of the Mosaic day. So I think that with that being said, that we need to let everything dry before we do the grout. So if you want to tune in later to part 2 of today's video, we will be back on live in a little while. So that being said, take my magic fingers somewhere on the screen here, click and come back to here. So this is basically our project today so far. And while these are setting up, you can see it's not falling out, but it's still a little too wet. So we're going to wait for that. We will come back on live later this evening for part 2 of this tutorial. So of course, I always film these live, and we will try to get some pre-recorded material up with the classes and workshops coming soon. But this is live and we have to wait for it to dry. So I'll come back on here later today with part 2 of the mosaics. So thanks for tuning in for now, and we'll see you in a little bit. All right.